Josephine May Caldwell pressed her face against the frosted window and watched them laugh. Her breath fogged the glass as Mrs. Finch shoved the work notice into her trembling hands. Silver Creek Ranch, Stone's place, the war hero who'd killed 17 men. They were sending her there to freeze, to fail, to die. And they were laughing about it. Her fingers cramped around the paper. The matron's voice cut through the boarding house parlor like a blade through ice. "Pack your things, girl. Captain Stone needs a cook. You leave at dawn, alone." Before we begin, if you love stories of redemption, second chances, and love that defies the cruelest odds, please hit that subscribe button. Stay with me until the end to see how this broken girl and the scarred soldier find something worth fighting for. And drop your city and state in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to know how far this story reaches. Now let's begin. The boarding house dining room smelled like boiled turnips and judgment. 8 girls crowded around the stove, their hands pink from scrubbing, their voices sharp with the kind of cruelty that festers in close quarters. Josephine sat in the corner, invisible as always, mending Mrs. Finch's tablecloth. Her needle moved in steady rhythm. In, out, in, out. She'd learned long ago that if she stayed quiet, stayed useful, they sometimes forgot she existed. "Did you hear?" Sarah Jane Winters, blonde and beautiful and cruel as a late frost, leaned against the doorframe. Captain Stone posted a notice. "Needs a cook." The room went silent. Then someone laughed, nervous, sharp. "The captain," Martha, the youngest girl, whispered. "The one who came back from the war all ruined," Sarah Jane finished. Her smile was knife-thin. "They say he's got a scar from his eye to his jaw. Says he doesn't speak for days. Just works that ranch like a man possessed. My brother delivered grain there last month," another girl added. "Said Stone threw a man off his property for laughing. Didn't even say why. Just pointed, and the man ran." Josephine's hands stilled. She knew about men like that. Men whose anger lived so close to the surface that you could taste it in the air around them. "Who'd be fool enough to take that job?" Martha asked. The silence stretched. Josephine felt it before she saw it, the shift, the turning of heads. Her stomach dropped. "Well?" Mrs. Finch's voice cut through the room like an axe through frozen wood. The matron stood in the doorway, tall and thin and hard as winter. "I believe we've found our volunteer." Josephine looked up. Every eye in the room was fixed on her. "No." The word came out small, strangled. I can't." "You can and you will." Mrs. Finch crossed the room. Her skirts whispered against the floorboards. "Captain Stone pays $20 a month plus room and board. That's more than this establishment can afford to feed you." The girls giggled. Josephine's cheeks burned. "But I don't know how to—" "You cook here, don't you?" Mrs. Finch thrust the paper into Josephine's lap. "You clean, you work. That's all he's asking for." "He's asking for someone who won't run when he starts throwing things," Sarah Jane said sweetly. "Someone too heavy to blow away in a blizzard." Laughter erupted. Mean, bright. "That's enough." Mrs. Finch's voice didn't rise, but the laughter died. "Josephine will leave at dawn. 5 miles north to Stone Creek Ranch. The captain will be expecting her." Josephine's throat closed. "Tomorrow. But the storm will pass by morning." Mrs. Finch turned toward the door. "And if it doesn't, you'll walk through it anyway. I've already sent word. He's expecting you at first light." "But I have nothing to—" "You have your hands. You have your back. That's all any of us have." The matron paused at the threshold. "Fail to arrive, Josephine, and don't bother returning. There's no room here for girls who refuse honest work." The door closed. The room exploded. "Oh God, she's actually going—" "Do you think he'll keep her?" "Keep her. He'll probably use her for target practice. Maybe she'll freeze halfway there." Do you think he'll—" Josephine stood. The chair scraped. The girls fell silent. She folded the notice with shaking hands, tucked it into her apron pocket, and walked toward the stairs. Her footsteps were the only sound in the room. "Josie?" Sarah Jane's voice followed her. Soft now, almost kind. Josephine stopped, but didn't turn. "Don't come back. There's nothing for you here anyway." Josephine climbed the stairs. The attic was freezing. Josephine shared it with Martha and two other girls who were at evening service. She packed by candlelight 2 dresses, both patched at the elbows, 1 apron, a spare pair of stockings with holes in the heels, her mother's Bible. That was all. She sat on the edge of her cot and pulled her mother's Bible into her lap. The leather cover was cracked, the pages soft from use. Her mother had carried this Bible west from Virginia, had held it when the cholera came, had pressed it into Josephine's hands before she died. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Josephine's eyes burned. Want. She'd wanted so many things: safety, kindness, to be seen as something other than a burden. She closed the Bible and pressed it to her chest. "They're sending you to die, you know." Josephine looked up. Martha stood in the doorway, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. "They think it's funny," the younger girl continued. Her voice was quiet, careful. "Sending the fat girl to the meanest man in Silver Creek. They're taking bets on how long you'll last." "How long do they think?" Josephine heard herself ask. 3 days. Sarah Jane said you'd be back by Sunday crying. And you." Josephine's voice was steady now, empty. "What did you bet?" Martha stepped into the attic. "I didn't." The 2 girls looked at each other across the narrow space. "My mother was heavy," Martha said suddenly. "The other miners' wives used to laugh at her, called her lazy, said she ate more than she was worth." She paused. "But when the winter of '75 came, and half the camp was starving, my mother kept us alive. Knew how to stretch a pound of flour into a week of meals. Knew which roots to dig when the supplies ran out. Those same women who laughed came begging at our door." Josephine's throat ached. "I don't know if Captain Stone is cruel or just broken," Martha said. "But I know you're stronger than they think, than you think." She pressed something into Josephine's hand. A wool scarf, gray and worn but clean. "My mother's," Martha whispered. It kept her warm when nothing else would. Then she was gone. Josephine sat alone in the dark, holding the scarf, and for the first time since her mother died, she cried. Jed. Dawn broke gray and bitter. Snow had fallen through the night, turning Silver Creek into a ghost town. Josephine stood at the boarding house door, her bundle clutched to her chest, watching the wind tear down Main Street. Mrs. Finch appeared behind her. "The path north follows the creek, 5 miles. Don't stray from it, or you'll lose your way." "In this storm?" "The storm is your problem now." The matron's face was stone. "The captain is expecting you before noon. I suggest you move." Josephine stepped into the snow. The cold hit like a physical blow. Wind screamed through her thin coat, cut through her patched dress. Snow swirled so thick she could barely see 10 feet ahead. She wrapped Martha's scarf around her face and walked. The first mile was agony. Her feet went numb. Her hands ached. The bundle grew heavier with each step. The second mile she fell. Her knee cracked against frozen ground. Blood seeped through her stocking. She pushed herself up and kept walking. The third mile she couldn't feel her face. The fourth mile she started to understand. They'd sent her to die. Not to work, not to cook, to die. Because no one that size, that weak, that worthless could survive a winter storm alone. The 5th mile she saw it. A ranch house, low and solid smoke rising from the chimney. Barn to the left, corral to the right. Fences stretching into the white nothing. Stone Creek Ranch. Josephine stumbled forward. Her legs barely held her. She reached the porch and collapsed against the door. Her fist hit wood. Once. Twice. The door opened. A man stood there. Tall, broad-shouldered. A scar ran from his right eyebrow down across his cheek, pulling his face into a permanent half-scowl. His eyes were dark, hard, unreadable. Captain Nathaniel Stone. He stared at her. She stared back, shaking so hard her teeth rattled. "Please." Her voice cracked. I'm the cook. From town. They sent me in this." His voice was low, rough. "They sent you in this?" "Yes." His jaw worked. Something dark flickered across his face. Then he stepped aside. "Get in." Josephine stumbled over the threshold. Heat hit her like a wall. Her knees buckled. Stone caught her. His hands were rough but steady. He guided her to a chair near the fire. "Sit." She sat. Her whole body shook. Stone disappeared into the back room, returned with a blanket, heavy wool warm. He dropped it around her shoulders. "How long were you walking?" 2 hours, maybe 3. He cursed, low and vicious. "They sent you in a blizzard, alone, to walk 5 miles. It wasn't a question. Josephine nodded anyway. Stone crossed to the stove, poured something from a kettle into a tin cup, brought it to her. "Drink." Her hands shook too hard to hold it. He wrapped her fingers around the cup, steadying it. The liquid was hot bitter. Coffee. Real coffee. Not the chicory water they served at the boarding house. "Slow," Stone said. "You drink too fast, you'll be sick." She sipped. The heat spread through her chest, down into her stomach. Stone stepped back, studied her. His expression was unreadable. "What's your name?" "Josephine. Josephine Caldwell." "You know how to cook, Josephine Caldwell?" "Yes, sir." "Clean?" "Yes, sir." "Work without complaining?" "Yes, sir." Stone's eyes narrowed. "You're not here because you're qualified. You're here because they think it's funny." Josephine's breath caught. She looked down at the cup in her hands. "I know," she whispered. "So why'd you come?" She looked up, met his eyes. "Because I had nowhere else to go." Something flickered in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Or pain. He turned away, walked to the window, stared out at the storm. "There's a room off the kitchen," he said finally. "It's small, cold, but it's yours if you want it." You're letting me stay? I'm giving you a choice." He didn't turn around. "You can stay here. Work for your keep. I pay $20 a month room and board. Or I can saddle a horse and take you back to town when the storm breaks." "They won't take me back." "I know." Silence fell. The fire crackled. Wind howled against the house. "Why?" Josephine heard herself ask. "Why would you let me stay?" Stone turned. The scar pulled his face into something that might have been a smile, but looked more like a wound. "Because I know what it's like," he said quietly, "when everyone's just waiting for you to break." Josephine's eyes stung. She blinked hard. "I'll work," she said. Her voice was stronger now. "I'll work harder than anyone you've hired. I won't complain. I don't need promises." Stone crossed back to her, looked down. His eyes were softer now, just slightly. "I need someone who'll show up, every day, even when it's hard. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Then we have an understanding." He held out his hand. Josephine set down the cup, took his hand. His grip was warm, calloused, steady. "Welcome to Stone Creek Ranch, Miss Caldwell." For the first time in years, Josephine felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The storm raged for 3 days. Josephine spent the first day sleeping. Stone had shown her to the room off the kitchen, small as he'd said, but clean. A narrow bed, a washstand, a window that looked out toward the mountains. She collapsed onto the bed and slept for 16 hours. When she woke, it was dark. The house was silent. She pulled the blanket around her shoulders and stepped into the kitchen. Stone sat at the table cleaning a rifle by lamplight. He glanced up as she entered. You're awake? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sleep so long. You walked 5 miles in a blizzard. You're allowed to rest. He set down the cleaning rod. There's stew on the stove. Help yourself. Josephine crossed to the stove. The pot was cast iron heavy, the stew inside thick with meat and vegetables. Her stomach growled. She ladled some into a bowl, sat across from Stone at the table. They ate in silence. The stew was good, plain but good. Venison, potatoes, carrots, salt but no pepper. But no. This is really good, Josephine said quietly. Stone grunted. It's edible. Did you make it? I cook for myself. Have for 5 years. 5 years. Since I came back from the war. Josephine looked down at her bowl. She wanted to ask more, but something in his voice said the subject was closed. Stone finished his stew. Stood. Storm's supposed to break tomorrow. If you're planning to leave, that's when I'll take you. I'm not leaving. He studied her. You sure town'll talk. Single woman living with a single man. They'll make it ugly. They already make everything ugly. Josephine met his eyes. At least here I'm useful. Something flickered in Stone's expression. He nodded once. Get some more rest. We'll start work when the storm clears. He disappeared into his room. Josephine finished her stew, washed the bowl, and stood at the window. Snow piled against the glass. Wind screamed. But inside the fire burned warm. She pressed her hand to the window. For the first time in 8 years, since the missionary found her after the raid, since Mrs. Finch took her in out of charity, since the girls started their whispers. For the first time, she didn't feel like a burden. The storm broke on the 3rd day. Josephine woke to silence. Not the howling wind, not the rattle of shutters. Silence. She dressed quickly and stepped into the kitchen. Stone was already awake, standing at the door, staring out at the world. Everything was white. Pure, blinding white. Snow drifted 3 feet high against the porch. The barn was half buried. The mountains in the distance looked like they'd been carved from ice. Beautiful, Josephine whispered. Dangerous, Stone corrected. He pulled on his coat. I need to check the barn. Make sure the horses made it through. You stay inside. Keep the fire going. Can I help? He turned, studied her. You ever worked with horses? No, sir. Then you'll be more help here. He paused at the threshold. There's flour in the pantry, eggs, bacon. If you want to earn your keep, breakfast would be appreciated. Then he was gone. Josephine stood in the empty kitchen and smiled. She crossed to the pantry, found flour, baking powder, salt, a crock of lard, eggs in a basket carefully packed in straw, bacon hanging from a hook. She rolled up her sleeves and got to work. By the time Stone returned an hour later, stamping snow from his boots, the kitchen smelled like heaven. Biscuits, bacon, eggs scrambled with wild onions she'd found hanging in the pantry, coffee strong and black. Stone stopped in the doorway, stared. I hope this is all right, Josephine said quickly. I found the onions and thought, it's perfect. The word hit her like a physical thing. Stone crossed to the table, sat. She set a plate in front of him. He picked up his fork, took a bite of biscuit, closed his eyes. When's the last time you had a real breakfast? Josephine asked softly. Can't remember. Stone opened his eyes, looked at her. Can you do this every morning? Yes, sir. Then you've earned your place. He took another bite. And stop calling me sir. Name's Nate. Nate, Josephine repeated. The name felt strange on her tongue, intimate. Eat, he said, nodding to the stove. You cooked it. She filled her own plate and sat across from him. They ate together. The fire crackled. Outside, the world was frozen, but inside, something was beginning to thaw. And neither of them had words for it yet, but both of them felt it. Work became Josephine's salvation and her proof. The first week she scrubbed every surface in that kitchen until her hands cracked and bled. Stone found her at the wash basin one evening, her fingers raw and trembling as she tried to peel potatoes. He caught her wrist, turned her hand over, studied the broken skin. "You're going to lose your fingers if you keep this up." "I'm fine." "You're bleeding into my dinner." He released her hand and disappeared into his room, returned with a tin of salve. "Sit." She sat. He pulled a chair close, took her hands in his, and began working the salve into her skin. His touch was careful, methodical. She watched his face, the way his jaw tightened when he found a particularly deep crack. "You don't have to destroy yourself to prove you belong here," he said quietly. "Yes, I do." He looked up. Their faces were close. She could see the exact path of his scar, the way it pulled at the corner of his eye. "No," he said. "You don't." But she did, because every morning she woke expecting him to change his mind, to send her back, to laugh like all the others. Instead, he taught her how to feed the horses without spooking them, how to muck stalls efficiently, how to stack firewood so it stayed dry, how to read the sky for coming weather. He was patient. Gruff, but patient. When she stammered, he waited. When she made mistakes, he showed her the right way without criticism. "Like this," he'd say, repositioning her hands on the pitchfork on the axe on the reins. "See? You've got it." And slowly she started to believe him. The second week she found her rhythm. Up before dawn. Coffee first, strong enough to strip paint. Then breakfast while Stone did the first barn check. Eggs, bacon, biscuits, sometimes flapjacks if they had syrup. They ate together, not talking much, just existing in the same space. It was the most peaceful part of Josephine's day. After breakfast, the work began in earnest. Dishes, laundry, mending, bread making, dinner preparation. Stone would come in throughout the day, tracking snow and mud, and she'd have coffee ready. He'd drink it standing at the window, staring out at his land. "You think too much," she told him once. He glanced at her. "Someone has to." "What do you think about whether I ordered enough grain, whether the fence on the north pasture will hold through spring, whether the railroad's going to come through here or bypass us entirely?" He paused. "Whether you're going to wake up one morning and realize you made a mistake staying." The admission hung between them. "I won't," Josephine said. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." She crossed to where he stood. "Because for the first time in 8 years, I wake up and I'm not afraid." Stone looked at her. Really looked. Something shifted in his expression. "I'm glad," he said roughly. Then he grabbed his coat and headed back into the cold. But Josephine had seen it. The softness. The almost smile. She pressed her hand to her chest and felt her heart racing. The third week the world came calling. Josephine was kneading bread when she heard horses, multiple horses. Her stomach dropped. She wiped her hands on her apron and moved to the window. 4 riders approached the ranch, men she didn't recognize. Stone was at the barn. He'd heard them too. She watched him straighten, set down the post-hole digger, and walk toward the fence line. The lead rider was tall, dressed too fine for ranch work. He pulled his horse to a stop just outside the gate. "Stone," the man called. His voice carried across the snow. "Heard you finally hired help." "What's it to you, Murdoch?" Murdoch. Josephine recognized the name. Clayton Murdoch owned the Silver Dollar Saloon. Stone had warned her about him. "Just being neighborly." Murdoch's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Town's talking. Says you've got the Finch girl living here, the fat one." Josephine's face burned. Stone's voice dropped. "Dangerous." "Her name's Miss Caldwell, and she's my cook, my business, not yours." "Come on, Captain." One of the other men leaned forward in his saddle. "We all know what a woman's doing living alone with a man." "Yeah," another added. "And that particular woman bet she's grateful for the attention. Probably can't believe her luck." They laughed. cruel, sharp. Stone moved so fast, Josephine almost missed it. He grabbed the gatepost, vaulted over the fence, and crossed the distance in 4 strides. Grabbed the laughing man's boot and yanked. The man hit the ground hard. Stone stood over him. "Get up." The man scrambled backward. "I didn't mean—" "Get up or get out. Your choice." Murdoch's smile vanished. "Easy, Captain. We're just having fun." "Fun's done." Stone's fists clenched. "You come onto my property, you disrespect my cook, you laugh like she's a joke. I should shoot you for trespassing. You'd start a war over hired help. I'd start a war over basic human decency." Stone stepped closer to Murdoch's horse. "Miss Caldwell works harder than any man I've had here. She's earned her place. You want to question that, you question me, not her." The men exchanged glances. Murdoch's jaw tightened. "Town's not going to like this, Stone." "Town can go to hell." Murdoch wheeled his horse around. The others followed. But before they rode off, Murdoch turned back. "Your father would be ashamed. War hero defending trash like that." Stone went very still. "My father was a drunk who beat his wife and son. If he's ashamed, I'm doing something right." The words cut through the cold like a blade. Murdoch had nothing to say to that. He spurred his horse and disappeared down the road. Stone stood in the snow, shoulders heaving. Josephine could see the tension in every line of his body. She opened the door and stepped onto the porch. "Nate." He turned. His face was hard, but his eyes were wounded. "You shouldn't have heard that. I'm glad I did." He climbed the porch steps, stopped in front of her. "They're going to keep coming. Keep talking. It's going to get worse." "I know. You could still leave. I could take you to the next town. Helena. Somewhere they don't know you. You could start fresh." "No." The word was firm. Final. Stone searched her face. "Why not?" "Because I don't want fresh. I want this." She gestured to the ranch, the house, the life they were building. "I want to wake up and make coffee. I want to cook breakfast and mend your shirts and stack firewood. I want to be useful, to matter. You do matter. Not to anyone else. But here." Her voice cracked. "Here I matter to you, don't I?" Stone's expression broke. Just for a moment. Just enough. "Yes," he said roughly. "You matter to me." The admission hung between them. Raw. Honest. Josephine felt tears prick her eyes. "Then let them talk. Let them come. I'm not leaving." Stone reached out. His hand hovered near her face, uncertain. Then he tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle it made her chest ache. "You're braver than you know," he said quietly. Then he turned and walked back to the barn. Josephine stood on the porch, her heart pounding, her face burning from more than cold. She pressed her fingers to where he'd touched her and smiled. The next Sunday, Stone saddled 2 horses. "We're going to town," he announced over breakfast. Josephine froze her fork halfway to her mouth. "Why?" "Because I need supplies. And because you need to stop hiding." "I'm not hiding." "You haven't left this ranch in 3 weeks." He drained his coffee. "You can't stay here forever. Town's part of life out here." "The town that sent me to die." "The town that needs to see you didn't." He stood. "Get your coat. We leave in 10 minutes." Josephine's hands shook as she cleared the table. The ride to Silver Creek took an hour. Stone kept his horse close to hers, watchful, protective. When they reached Main Street, people stopped and stared. Women whispered behind gloved hands. Men exchanged knowing looks. A group of children pointed and giggled until their mother shushed them. Stone dismounted first, tied his horse to the post. Then he turned and helped Josephine down. His hands on her waist were steady, sure. "Head up," he said quietly. "You've got nothing to be ashamed of." They walked to the general store together. Mr. Paulson, the shopkeeper, looked up from his ledger. His eyebrows rose. "Captain Stone, Miss Caldwell, isn't it?" "It is," Josephine said. Her voice was stronger than she expected. "What can I do for you folks?" Stone rattled off a list. Flour, sugar, coffee, salt, lamp oil. Josephine added fabric for new kitchen towels, needles, thread. Mr. Paulson filled the order without comment, but his eyes kept darting between them. Curious. Calculating. That'll be $12 even. Stone paid. Josephine gathered the smaller parcels while he hefted the flour sack. They were loading the horses when she heard it. Well, well, look who came crawling back to civilization. Josephine turned. Sarah Jane Winters stood on the boardwalk flanked by two other boarding house girls. She looked perfect, pretty, smug. Hello, Sarah Jane. Hello, Josie. Sarah Jane's smile was poisonous. Surprised to see you're still alive. We had a bet going. I lost $5. The other girls giggled. Stone moved to Josephine's side. Didn't touch her, but his presence was a wall. Miss Winters, he said. His voice was cold enough to freeze blood. Sarah Jane's smile faltered. Captain Stone, how nice to see you. Wish I could say the same. The street had gone quiet. People watched from doorways, windows. Josephine felt the weight of their stares. We were just surprised. Sarah Jane continued recovering. That Josie's still working for you. Must be quite the cook. Best I've ever had. Really? Sarah Jane's eyes glittered. Because from what I hear, she's more than just your cook now. She's living in your house, sleeping under your roof. Makes a girl wonder. Wonder about what? Stone's voice dropped. Dangerous. Sarah Jane hesitated. Too late to back down now. About what exactly she's doing to earn her keep. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Josephine felt her face burn. Opened her mouth to respond. Stone spoke first. Miss Caldwell works 16-hour days. She's up before dawn making breakfast. She cleans, cooks, mends, and manages my household better than anyone I've hired in 5 years. She doesn't complain. She doesn't quit. She shows up every single day and does work that would break most men I know. His voice carried across the street. People leaned in to listen. So, if you're asking what she does to earn her keep, the answer is everything. And she does it with more dignity and grace than you'll ever understand. Sarah Jane's face reddened. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. Stone stepped forward, not threatening, but immovable. You meant to humiliate her, to make her feel small, because that's what people like you do. You tear others down to feel bigger. Captain Stone, I'm not finished. His jaw was tight. Miss Caldwell is under my protection. She lives on my ranch. She works for me. And if anyone in this town has a problem with that, they can take it up with me directly. Are we clear? Silence. Complete. Total. Sarah Jane's mouth opened. Closed. She turned and walked away, her friends scurrying after her. The street slowly came back to life. Whispers. Murmurs. But different now. Uncertain. Stone turned to Josephine. You all right? She nodded. Couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. Let's go home. Home. The word settled in her chest like a coal. They mounted and rode. When they reached the edge of town, Josephine finally found her voice. Thank you. Don't thank me for basic decency. No one's ever... She stopped. Started again. No one's ever stood up for me like that. Stone glanced at her. Then no one's ever seen you the way I do. And how do you see me? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, strong, capable, worth defending. Tears spilled before Josephine could stop them. She turned her face away, but Stone saw. He pulled his horse close, reached across the distance between them, took her hand. They rode home like that, hand in hand, not speaking, but saying everything. That night after dinner, Stone lingered at the table. Usually he'd retreat to his room to read or clean his guns. Tonight, he stayed. Tell me about your mother, he said. Josephine looked up from her mending. What do you want to know? Anything. She set down her needle. She was beautiful, not in the way people usually mean, but she had this light. Like even when things were hard, she could find something good. Where was she from? Virginia. She married my father when she was 17. He was a schoolteacher. They came west for opportunity. Josephine's voice softened. The fever took him when I was 6. Then it was just us. What happened? We joined a wagon train, headed for Oregon, but we didn't make it. She twisted her hands in her lap. There was a raid, Sioux warriors. Most of the train was killed. My mother pushed me under the wagon, told me not to move, not to make a sound. Stone's expression was unreadable. I heard her screaming, Josephine whispered. I heard everything, and I did nothing. I just laid there in the dirt and did nothing. You were a child. I was 12. You were a child, Stone repeated, firm. And your mother saved you the only way she could. Josephine's eyes burned. The missionaries found me 3 days later, brought me to Silver Creek. Mrs. Finch took me in, said it was Christian charity. And made you pay for it every day since. Yes. Stone stood, crossed to where she sat. He crouched down so they were eye level. Listen to me. What happened to your mother wasn't your fault. You surviving wasn't a betrayal. It was a gift. The gift she gave you. I don't feel like a gift, Josephine said. Her voice broke. I feel like a burden. You're not. His voice was fierce. You're not a burden, Josephine. Not to me. Not to anyone who matters. She looked at him. At this scarred, broken man who'd somehow seen past everything the world told him she was. Why do you care? She whispered. Why does any of this matter to you? Stone was silent. Then, slowly, he spoke. Because I know what it's like to believe you're worthless. To have someone tell you every day that you're nothing. That you'll never be more than the worst thing that happened to you. Your father. My father. Stone's jaw tightened. He was a mean drunk. Came back from the Mexican War with rage in his blood. Took it out on my mother. On me. Told me I was weak, stupid, that I'd never amount to anything. You joined the army. To get away from him. To prove him wrong. Stone laughed bitter. Then the war came, and I found out I was good at killing. Real good. Led cavalry charges. 17 confirmed kills like Murdoch said. Came home with medals and commendations. That's honorable. Is it? He looked at her. I killed those men, Josephine. Looked them in the eyes and shot them dead. Some were boys, younger than me, and I was good at it. What does that make me? Human. The word hung between them. My father died while I was at war. Stone continued. Fell off his horse drunk. Broke his neck. I came home to nothing. This ranch was all that was left. So I worked it. Kept my head down. Tried to forget. But you can't forget. No. He stood. That's why I understand why you can't either. Josephine rose. They stood close. Too close. She could feel the heat radiating off him. We're both haunted, she said softly. Yes. Maybe that's why this works. We understand the ghosts. Stone reached out. His fingers brushed her cheek. Just once. Just barely. Maybe, he said roughly. Then he turned and walked to his room. Josephine stood alone in the kitchen, her face burning where he'd touched her, her heart beating so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. She pressed her hand to her chest and breathed. Something was happening between them. Something neither of them had words for yet. But both of them felt it, and neither of them was running. The weeks blurred together. Work, meals, quiet conversations by the fire. Stone taught Josephine to shoot standing behind her, adjusting her grip on the rifle, his hands steady on hers. Breathe, he'd say. Squeeze, don't pull. She'd fire. Miss. Try again. Better. By the end of March, she could hit a tin can at 50 yards. "You're a natural," Stone said. "I had a good teacher." They worked side by side, mending fences, clearing brush, preparing for spring planting. The ranch was too much for one person, but together they managed. People from town still came occasionally, always with some excuse, checking on the captain, delivering mail, seeing if he needed anything, always staring at Josephine. Stone turned most of them away at the gate. But one afternoon, a different visitor arrived. Josephine was hanging laundry when she heard the carriage, a single rider. She shaded her eyes and watched a horse approach. The rider was young, female. She wore a fine riding habit, her blonde hair pinned beneath a fashionable hat. Josephine's stomach tightened. Stone emerged from the barn, saw the rider. His whole body went rigid. "Elizabeth." The woman dismounted gracefully, smiled. "Hello, Nate." Elizabeth. Josephine had heard the name once. Murdoch's daughter. The woman Stone had been expected to marry before the war. "What are you doing here?" Stone's voice was flat. "I heard you had help now. I wanted to see for myself." Elizabeth's eyes found Josephine. Traveled up and down. Her smile didn't waver, but something cold flickered in her gaze. "This must be the Caldwell girl." "Miss Caldwell," Stone corrected. "Of course." Elizabeth crossed the yard. Her skirts whispered, "I'm Elizabeth Murdoch. Nate and I are old friends." "Miss Murdoch." Josephine's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "The ranch looks good, Nate," Elizabeth said, turning back to Stone. "Better than I've seen it in years." "Josephine's doing." "Is it?" Elizabeth's smile sharpened. "How resourceful." The insult was buried beneath politeness, but Josephine heard it. So did Stone. "What do you want, Elizabeth?" "Can't I visit an old friend?" "We're not friends." "We were more than friends once." She stepped closer to him. Intimate. Familiar. "Or have you forgotten?" Stone's jaw tightened. "That was a long time ago." 5 years. "Not so long." Elizabeth's voice softened. "I waited, you know. While you were at war, I wrote letters. I prayed. I turned down 3 proposals. You should have accepted one. I wanted you." The words fell like stones. Josephine felt her chest constrict. She turned away, reaching for the laundry basket. "Josephine," Stone said. She stopped. "Could you make coffee for our guest?" Josephine met his eyes. Saw the apology there, the discomfort. "Of course." She walked to the house, her back straight, her heart cracking. Inside, she put the kettle on with shaking hands. Through the window, she watched Stone and Elizabeth talk. Elizabeth laughed, touched his arm. Familiar. Easy. Everything Josephine wasn't. 10 minutes later, they came inside. Elizabeth swept into the kitchen like she owned it. "Oh, how quaint. You've really made it quite cozy, haven't you, Miss Caldwell?" "Thank you." Elizabeth sat at the table. Josephine poured coffee. Set out the good cups, the sugar bowl. "So tell me," Elizabeth said, stirring sugar into her cup. "How did you come to work for Nate?" "Mrs. Finch sent me." "Ah, yes. The boarding house." Elizabeth's smile was sympathetic. "False." "That must have been difficult, living on charity." "It was honest work." "Of course. I didn't mean—" Elizabeth waved her hand. "I'm sure you're very grateful to Nate for taking you in, giving you a proper position." "I am." "He always did have a soft heart, even as a boy." Elizabeth looked at Stone. "Remember when you found that injured fox, you nursed it back to health even after your father said to shoot it?" Stone said nothing. "You always did want to save broken things," Elizabeth continued. Her eyes slid back to Josephine. The meaning was clear. Josephine's face burned. She set down the coffee pot carefully. "If you'll excuse me, I have work to do." "Of course." Elizabeth's smile was victorious. Josephine walked out, made it to the barn before the tears came. She pressed her hands to her face and tried to breathe. Broken things. That's all she was. All she'd ever be. A burden. A project. Something to fix. Josephine. She spun. Stone stood in the barn entrance. I'm fine. No, you're not. I'm fine, she repeated. Her voice cracked. Go back to your guest. Stone crossed the distance between them. She's not my guest. She's a ghost, and I want her gone. She's beautiful. She's cruel. She loves you. She loves the idea of me. Stone's voice was firm. The war hero. The captain. That's not who I am anymore. Then who are you? He looked at her, really looked. I'm a man trying to build something good, something real, with someone who sees me, not the medals, not the reputation. Me. Josephine's breath caught. Nate, she's leaving, he said quietly, and she's not coming back because she's not what I want. What do you want? Stone reached out, cupped her face in his rough hands. You, he said simply. I want you. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate. Fierce. Like a man drowning and she was air. Josephine melted into him, her hands fisted in his shirt. He tasted like coffee and want, and something she couldn't name, but had been starving for her entire life. When they broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. She's gone, Stone said roughly. I sent her away. I told her not to come back. Because of me. Because of us. Us. The word settled in her chest like a prayer. Stone kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips again softer this time. You're not broken, he whispered against her mouth. You're not a burden. You're mine, if you'll have me. Josephine looked up at him, at this scarred, beautiful, impossible man. Yes, she breathed. Yes. And there in the barn with the horses watching and the spring sun streaming through the cracks in the walls, Nathaniel Stone held Josephine Caldwell like she was something precious. Because she was. And he'd be damned if he ever let her forget it. Spring came slow to Montana territory, but it came. Ice melted. Creeks swelled. The ground turned to mud, then gradually dried into something workable, and with the thaw came change. Stone kissed Josephine 3 more times that week. Once in the kitchen when she burned her hand on the stove and he bandaged it. Once outside the barn when she successfully hitched the wagon by herself. Once late at night when they both couldn't sleep and met in the kitchen and the moonlight made everything feel like a dream. But they didn't speak about it. Didn't name what was happening between them. And that silence felt like borrowed time. The 4th week of April, trouble arrived with hoofbeats. Josephine was workings in the garden, turning soil for the vegetables she'd plant once the frost danger passed. Her hands were black with earth, her back aching pleasantly from honest work. She heard horses and looked up. 6 riders. She recognized Deputy Hastings immediately, his badge catching the afternoon sun. Behind him rode Clayton Murdoch and 4 men Josephine didn't know. Rough-looking, armed. Her stomach dropped. Stone was at the north fence, too far to reach quickly. Josephine stood slowly wiping her hands on her apron. Deputy Hastings dismounted first. He was young, barely 30, with nervous eyes and a badge that seemed too big for his chest. Miss Caldwell. Deputy? Is Captain Stone here? He's working. What's this about? Murdoch dismounted next. His smile was cold. Official business, sweetheart. Where's your keeper? Josephine's hands clenched. Mr. Stone is on his property, as am I. State your business or leave. My. Murdoch's smile widened. She's got teeth now. Stone teach you that. I taught myself. Josephine stood her ground. What do you want? Hastings cleared his throat. There have been complaints, Miss Caldwell, about your living situation here. Complaints from who? Concerned citizens. Meaning you, Josephine said, looking at Murdoch. Meaning decent folks who don't appreciate unmarried persons living in sin, Murdoch replied smoothly. It's unseemly. Sets a bad example. We're not living in sin. I'm his cook. That's not what it looks like from town. Hastings pulled a paper from his coat. I've got a petition here, signed by 15 residents. They're requesting that you return to the boarding house or that Captain Stone make your arrangement legal. Legal, Josephine repeated. Her voice felt distant. Marriage, Murdoch clarified. Or you leave. Those are your options. This is insane, Josephine breathed. You can't force... Actually, we can. Hastings looked uncomfortable, but determined. There are decency laws, cohabitation statutes. If you're not married and you're living under the same roof, that's considered immoral conduct. That's considered none of your goddamn business. Stone's voice cut across the yard like a whip. He strode toward them, his face dark with fury. Get off my property. Captain Stone. Hastings straightened. I'm here on official business. Official harassment is what this is. Stone positioned himself between Josephine and the men. Who signed that petition? Let me guess. Murdoch, Mrs. Finch, the saloon regulars who drink themselves stupid every Saturday. 17 signatures, Hastings said, including Pastor Williams. That made Stone pause. Williams signed. He's concerned about the moral fabric of the community, Murdoch said. As are we all. The moral fabric, Stone repeated. His jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. You mean gossip and spite dressed up as righteousness? Call it what you want. Murdoch stepped forward. But the law's the law. Either you marry the girl or send her packing. You've got 1 week to decide. And if I refuse, then I'll arrest her for vagrancy and immoral conduct, Hastings said quietly. I don't want to, Captain, but I will. Stone's fists clenched. Josephine could feel the rage radiating off him in waves. 1 week, Hastings repeated. He remounted his horse. I'm sorry, Captain. I truly am. They rode away. Josephine stood frozen, her mind spinning. Stone turned to her. His face was a storm. Pack your things. Her heart stopped. What? Pack your things. I'm taking you to Helena tonight. You can catch the train east. Start over somewhere they don't know you. No. Josephine. No. She stepped toward him. I'm not running. They'll arrest you. Then let them. You don't understand what they'll do to you. A woman arrested for immoral conduct, they'll brand you. Ruin you. You'll never work again. Never have a normal life. I don't want a normal life. Her voice rose. I want this life, here, with you. Stone looked at her. Something desperate flickered in his eyes. I can't marry you, he said roughly. The words hit like a physical blow. Josephine took a step back. Can't or won't? Both. He turned away, running his hands through his hair. You deserve better than this. Better than me. A real life. A real future. Not some broken soldier on a failing ranch. This ranch isn't failing. It's barely surviving. I'm one bad winter away from losing everything. Then we'll survive it together. No. Stone's voice was firm. I won't trap you. I won't make you my wife out of obligation because some small-minded men with a petition decided to force our hand. Tears burned Josephine's eyes. What if I want to be trapped? What if that's exactly what I want? You don't know what you want. Yes, I do. She crossed to him, grabbed his shirt, made him look at her. I want to wake up in this house. I want to make your coffee. I want to work beside you. I want to fall asleep knowing you're in the next room. I want you, Nate. Not because they're forcing me, because I choose it. Stone's expression cracked. Josephine, you said I wasn't broken. You said I mattered. Did you mean it? Yes. Then marry me." The words tumbled out. "Not because of their petition, not because of their threats, because you want to, because I'm asking." Stone stared at her. "You're proposing to me." "Yes." "That's not how it's supposed to work." "I don't care how it's supposed to work." Josephine's voice shook. "Nothing about us has worked the way it's supposed to. They sent me here to die. You were supposed to send me away. We were supposed to stay strangers. But we didn't. We became—" Her voice broke. "We became something. And I'm not ready to lose that. Are you—" Stone pulled her close. His arms wrapped around her tight, desperate. She felt him shaking. "No," he whispered into her hair. "I'm not ready to lose you." "Then say yes." He pulled back, looked at her. His eyes were wet. "Yes," he said roughly. "God help us both, yes." Josephine laughed through her tears. Stone cupped her face and kissed her hard. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "We'll do it right," he said. "Not because they're forcing us, because we're choosing each other." "When?" "Saturday, 5 days from now, Pastor Williams can perform the ceremony. He signed the petition." "Then he can damn well marry us," Stone said grimly. "It's the least he can do." Saturday came too fast and not fast enough. Josephine spent the intervening days in a strange haze. She cleaned the house top to bottom, baked bread, mended clothes. Normal work, but nothing felt normal anymore. She was getting married. The thought hit her at odd moments, while kneading dough, while hanging laundry, while brushing her hair before bed. Married. To Nathaniel Stone, the angry rancher who'd become her refuge. Stone threw himself into work. He repaired the porch steps, fixed the loose shutter on the bedroom window, mucked every stall in the barn until they gleamed. They circled each other carefully. Polite, gentle, both terrified of what they'd agreed to. Thursday night, Josephine couldn't sleep. She lay in her small room off the kitchen staring at the ceiling, counting her heartbeats. In 2 days, this wouldn't be her room anymore. She'd move into Stone's room. His bed. They'd be husband and wife. In every sense. The thought made her stomach flutter with something between fear and anticipation. She heard movement in the main room. Stone. He couldn't sleep either. Josephine pulled a shawl around her shoulders and stepped into the kitchen. Stone sat at the table, a whiskey glass in front of him. He looked up when she entered. "Can't sleep." "No." "Me neither." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Keep me company." She sat. He poured her a finger of whiskey. She sipped. It burned. "Having second thoughts?" Stone asked quietly. "No. Are you?" "Every minute." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I keep thinking you're going to wake up and realize you could do better. Better than what a man who sees me as a person, who trusts me, who kisses me like I'm something precious." Josephine shook her head. "There is no better Nate." Stone's expression softened. He reached across the table, took her hand. "I'm not good at this," he said. "Being gentle, being kind. The war took that out of me." "You're gentle with me." "Because you make me want to be." He traced circles on her palm with his thumb. "I spent 5 years convincing myself I didn't deserve softness, that I was too broken, too angry. And then you showed up in a blizzard, half frozen, and suddenly—" He stopped, swallowed hard. "Suddenly what?" Josephine prompted softly. "Suddenly I wanted to be someone worth coming home to." The words settled between them. Honest, raw. Josephine squeezed his hand. "You already are." Stone lifted her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. "I'll try to be a good husband. I can't promise I won't fail, but I'll try. That's all I'm asking." They sat like that for a long time, holding hands across the table, not speaking, just being. Friday morning Martha arrived. Josephine heard the wagon and stepped onto the porch. Her heart leapt. Martha climbed down a bundle in her arms. "I heard," Martha said simply, "about the petition, about the wedding. How? Mrs. Finch has been crowing about it all week. Says you trapped the captain. Says he's marrying you out of pity." Josephine's chest tightened. "Is that what everyone thinks?" "Everyone thinks what they want to think." Martha climbed the porch steps. "But I know better. I saw how he defended you that day in town. A man doesn't do that out of pity." She held out the bundle. Josephine took it. Inside was fabric, beautiful fabric, cream-colored with delicate embroidery along the edges. "My mother's wedding dress," Martha said. "She made it herself, wore it when she married my father. I want you to have it." "Martha, I can't." "Yes, you can." Martha's eyes were fierce. "You showed me it's possible to fight back, to choose differently. Let me help you do that." Josephine hugged her, held tight. "Thank you," she whispered. Martha stayed for tea. She helped Josephine alter the dress taking in the waist, letting out the bust. They worked in comfortable silence, needles flashing. "Are you scared?" Martha asked eventually. "Terrified." "Of marriage or of him?" "Of waking up." Josephine set down her needle. "Of this being a dream. Of him realizing he made a mistake." "He won't." "How do you know?" Martha smiled. "Because I saw the way he looked at you when you weren't watching. Like you were the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life." Josephine's eyes burned. She blinked fast. "I hope you're right." "I am." Martha tied off her thread. "And when you come to town as Mrs. Stone, you hold your head high. You've earned this, every bit of it." Saturday dawned clear and cold. April in Montana was unpredictable, but today the sky was blue and cloudless. Josephine dressed slowly. The cream dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves flowing to the floor. Martha had left a small bouquet of early wildflowers, purple and yellow and white. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection stared back, heavy, scarred, but her eyes were bright, alive. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. A knock on her door. Stone's voice rough with nerves. "You ready?" "Almost." "Take your time. We're not in a hurry." But they were, because Deputy Hastings had made it clear. Marriage or arrest. Today was the deadline. Josephine opened the door. Stone stood in the kitchen dressed in his best shirt and vest. He'd shaved, trimmed his hair. The scar stood out stark against his skin, but his eyes were warm. He stared at her, didn't speak for a long moment. "You're beautiful," he said finally. "I'm not—" "Yes, you are." He crossed to her, took her hands. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Tears pricked her eyes. "We should go." "Wait." Stone reached into his pocket, pulled out a ring. Simple, silver. It was my mother's. My father gave it to her when they married, before things went bad between them. I want you to have it. He slid it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Josephine looked at the ring, then at him. "I'll wear it with honor. I know you will." They rode to town together. The church sat at the end of Chapel Street, small and white with a wooden steeple. A handful of people gathered outside. Not many. Martha, Mr. Paulson, a few ranch hands who'd worked for Stone over the years, and Deputy Hastings standing with his arms crossed, his face unreadable. Pastor Williams waited on the church steps. He was old, gray-haired, his face lined with years of judgment and supposed wisdom. "Captain Stone, Miss Caldwell." "Pastor." Stone's voice was cold. "I understand you've decided to make this arrangement legal." "We've decided to get married," Stone corrected. "There's a difference." Williams's mouth tightened. "Shall we proceed?" They entered the church. It was small inside. Simple pews. Plain altar. Sunlight streamed through the windows, painting everything gold. Stone and Josephine stood before the altar. Williams opened his Bible. "Dearly beloved." "Skip the sermon," Stone interrupted. "Just get to the vows." Williams bristled. "This is a sacred ceremony. This is a legal requirement dressed up as sacred." Stone's jaw was tight. "I'm here to marry this woman. If you won't do it without the lecture, I'll find someone who will." Silence. Williams's face reddened, but he knew when he was beaten. "Do you, Nathaniel Stone, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "Do you, Josephine Caldwell, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Josephine looked at Stone, at his scarred face and hard eyes and the vulnerability beneath. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife." Williams closed his Bible with a snap. "You may kiss your bride." Stone turned to Josephine, cupped her face in his hands. "Hello, Mrs. Stone," he whispered. Then he kissed her. Soft. Sweet. Nothing like the desperate kisses in the barn. This was a promise. A beginning. When they broke apart, Josephine was crying. "Happy tears?" Stone asked softly. "Very happy." They turned to face the small congregation. Martha was crying too. Mr. Paulson clapped awkwardly. The ranch hands whistled. Deputy Hastings nodded once. "Congratulations, Captain." "Ma'am." Then he left. His duty done. Stone and Josephine walked out of the church hand in hand. The sun was high. The air smelled like pine and possibility. "What now?" Josephine asked. "Now we go home." Stone smiled. Really smiled. "And we start our life." But the town had other ideas. They made it halfway to the wagon when Clayton Murdoch stepped into their path. He wasn't alone. Half a dozen men flanked him. Sarah Jane and Elizabeth stood behind them watching. "Well, well," Murdoch said. His voice carried across the street. "The captain finally made an honest woman of his whore." Stone went very still. Josephine felt his hand tighten around hers. "Move," Stone said quietly. "Or what? You'll shoot me in front of witnesses." Murdoch smiled. "You might be married now, Stone, but everyone knows why. She trapped you, got her claws in, and wouldn't let go." "That's not true," Josephine said. Her voice shook but held. "Isn't it?" Murdoch looked at her. "You showed up starving and desperate. Latched onto the first man stupid enough to take pity on you. Now you've got his name and his property. Tell me that's not a trap." "It's called love," Josephine said, louder now. "Something you clearly don't understand." Murdoch's smile vanished. "You don't talk to me like that, girl." "She's not a girl. She's my wife." Stone stepped forward. "And you will show her respect, or I will teach it to you." "You threatening me?" "Promising you." The street had gone silent. People watched from doorways, windows, waiting. Murdoch's hand moved toward his belt. Stone moved faster. He grabbed Murdoch's wrist, twisted, and in one smooth motion had the older man on his knees in the dirt. "I learned a lot in the war," Stone said quietly. His voice was deadly calm. "I learned how to kill quickly, efficiently, how to break a man's arm without making a sound, how to end a fight before it starts." He twisted harder. Murdoch gasped in pain. "I also learned that some men only understand one language: force, cruelty. So let me speak your language, Murdoch. If you ever speak to my wife like that again, if you ever imply she's anything less than what she is, a good, decent, strong woman, I will end you. Are we clear?" "Yes," Murdoch ground out through clenched teeth. Stone released him. Murdoch scrambled backward, clutching his wrist. "Anyone else want to question my marriage?" Stone asked. His voice carried across the silent street. No one spoke. "Good." He turned to Josephine, offered his hand. "Let's go home, Mrs. Stone." She took it. They climbed into the wagon. Stone snapped the reins. As they left Silver Creek behind, Josephine looked back once, saw the crowd dispersing, saw Sarah Jane and Elizabeth watching, saw Murdoch still kneeling in the dirt. "That was terrifying," she whispered. "I'm sorry you had to see that." "Don't be." She squeezed his hand. "I'm glad I married a man who fights for what's his." Stone glanced at her, something fierce and tender in his eyes. "You're not a possession, Josephine. You're my partner. There's a difference." "I know." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "That's why I said yes." They rode home in comfortable silence. The ranch appeared on the horizon, solid and real. Home. Stone helped her down from the wagon. They stood in the yard, the house behind them, the mountains rising in the distance. "What are you thinking?" Josephine asked. Stone pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her. "I'm thinking that they sent you here to die," he said quietly. "And instead, you saved me." Josephine tilted her head back, looked at him. "We saved each other." "Yes," he agreed. "We did." Then he kissed her, long and slow and full of promise. And when he carried her across the threshold of their home, Josephine knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. The first night as husband and wife, they sat by the fire and didn't speak. Stone added wood. Josephine mended a shirt. The ring on her finger caught the firelight, unfamiliar and precious. She kept touching it, making sure it was real. "You can still have your room," Stone said suddenly. "If you want. We don't have to. I won't force." "Nate." Josephine set down her mending. "I married you. All of you. I'm not afraid." "You should be." His voice was rough. "I'm not gentle. I don't know how to be." "You're gentle with me. In daylight, when I'm in control." He stared into the fire. "At night the dreams come. The war. Sometimes I wake up swinging. Once I nearly choked a man who tried to wake me. I won't risk hurting you." Josephine crossed to where he sat, knelt in front of him, took his scarred hands in hers. "Then we'll learn together. You'll teach me your darkness. I'll teach you my light. And we'll find our way." Stone looked at her. His eyes were wet. "I don't deserve you." "Good thing love isn't about deserving." He pulled her close, kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Come to bed," he whispered. "Just to sleep. Just to be together." "Yes?" His room was simple, a bed larger than hers, a dresser, a chair, his rifle leaning in the corner. Josephine changed in the washroom, her hands shaking. When she returned, Stone was already in bed, his back to her. She climbed in beside him. The mattress dipped. He turned. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi." They lay facing each other, not touching, just breathing. "Can I hold you?" Stone asked. "Please." He pulled her close. Her head rested on his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, strong and steady. His arms wrapped around her, protective. "This is nice," she said. "Yes." "Nate. Thank you for choosing me." His arms tightened. "Thank you for choosing me back." They fell asleep like that. Together. Safe. Stone woke screaming at 3 a.m. Josephine jolted awake. He was sitting up, gasping, his fists clenched. She could see the terror in his eyes, the way his whole body shook. "Nate." She kept her voice calm, steady. "It's me. It's Josephine. You're home. You're safe." He turned to her. Slowly recognition filtered back into his eyes. "Did I hurt you?" "No." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." She reached for his hand. He flinched, but let her take it. "Tell me what you saw." "The battle. The last one. My men." His voice broke. "I led them into a trap. 17 of us went in. 3 came out. I can still hear them screaming." Josephine squeezed his hand. It wasn't your fault. I was their captain, their leader. I should have known. You were following orders. That doesn't absolve me." He looked at her. "I killed those men as surely as if I'd shot them myself." "No, the war killed them. The generals killed them. The hatred that started it all killed them. Not you." Stone's jaw trembled. "I can't forgive myself." "Then let me carry some of it." Josephine pulled him back down, cradled his head against her chest. "You don't have to carry it alone anymore. I'm here. I'm your wife. Your burden is mine now." He clung to her. She felt tears soak through her nightgown. "I'm sorry," he choked out. "I'm so sorry." "Shh. You have nothing to apologize for." She held him while he cried, stroked his hair, whispered promises into the dark. When he finally fell back asleep, she stayed awake, watching over him, guarding his peace. This was marriage, she realized. Not just the vows and the ring, but this, holding each other's broken pieces, building something whole from the wreckage. Morning came gentle. Stone woke first. Josephine felt him tense, felt the moment he remembered the night before. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "Stop apologizing. I woke you. We're married. We wake each other. That's how this works." She turned in his arms. "Good morning, husband." His expression softened. "Good morning, wife." He kissed her, slow, sweet, different than before. Married kisses, Josephine thought, familiar and new at once. "I'll make breakfast," she said. "Stay." His hand on her waist. "Just a few more minutes." So she stayed. They lay tangled together, the morning sun streaming through the window, and for those few minutes, the world outside didn't exist. But the world always intrudes. 2 weeks into their marriage, the railroad men came. Josephine heard them before she saw them. Loud voices. Heavy boots. She was hanging laundry when 6 men rode up, all wearing the same dusty suits, all carrying surveying equipment. Stone emerged from the barn. His face went hard. "Help you, gentlemen." The lead man dismounted. He was tall, thin, with wire spectacles and a ledger tucked under his arm. "Captain Stone, I'm Robert Finley, Montana Pacific Railroad Company. We're surveying a route through this territory." "Good for you. The route we're proposing runs directly through your northern pasture." Finley opened his ledger. "We're authorized to offer compensation, $500 for the right-of-way." Stone's jaw tightened. "That pasture feeds my cattle through winter. Then you'll relocate them." Finley's smile was practiced. "The railroad is coming, Captain. Progress can't be stopped. You can either work with us or against us. But either way, we're coming through." "Get off my land." "Captain." "I said, get off my land." Stone's voice dropped. "Dangerous. This is my property, bought and paid for. You don't get to ride in here and tell me you're taking it. We have government authorization. I don't care if you have authorization from God himself. This is my land. You want it, you'll have to take it by force." Finley's expression hardened. "We're trying to be reasonable." "So am I. And reasonably, I'm telling you to leave before I make you leave." The other men shifted uncomfortably. One whispered something to Finley. Finley closed his ledger. "You're making a mistake, Captain. The railroad will bring prosperity to this region. Jobs. Growth. A future. I've got a future. Right here." "For how long?" Finley looked around the ranch. "You're barely holding on. One bad season and you'll lose everything. We're offering you a way out." "I'm not looking for a way out." Finley mounted his horse. "You've got 2 weeks to reconsider. After that, we'll begin eminent domain proceedings. Good day, Captain." They rode off. Stone stood rigid, fists clenched. Josephine approached slowly. "Nate, they want to take my land." His voice was hollow. Everything I've built. Everything I fought for. They want to take it for their railroad. Can they do that legally? With government backing? Yes. He turned to her. I could fight it. Hire a lawyer. But lawyers cost money I don't have. And even if I won, it would take years. Years of legal battles while the ranch falls apart. Josephine's chest tightened. What are you going to do? I don't know. That night Stone didn't come to bed. Josephine found him in the barn sitting in the dark, a bottle of whiskey beside him. Nate, go back inside. No. She sat beside him. We're in this together, remember? There is no together if we lose the ranch. I'll have nothing to offer you, nothing to give you. You'll have yourself. That's all I need. Stone laughed, bitter. I'm not enough. I've never been enough. That's not true. Isn't it? He looked at her. His eyes were red. My father told me every day, you're worthless. You're nothing. You'll never amount to anything. I spent my whole life trying to prove him wrong. I joined the army, led men into battle, came home with medals, bought this ranch, built something from nothing. And for what? So some railroad company can take it away. They haven't taken it yet. They will. Men like Finley always win. They have money, power, connections. What do I have? A failing ranch and a wife I can't even provide for. Josephine grabbed his face, made him look at her. You have me. You have a woman who loves you, who believes in you, who will fight beside you until her last breath. That's not nothing, Nate. That's everything. Love doesn't pay debts. No. But it gives you a reason to fight. She softened her grip. You taught me that I wasn't worthless, that I deserved dignity and respect. Now let me teach you something. Your worth isn't tied to this land. It's not tied to what you can provide. It's tied to who you are. And you are a good man, a strong man, a man worth fighting for. Stone's face crumpled. He pulled her close, buried his face in her shoulder. I'm so tired, he whispered. I'm so tired of fighting. Then rest. Let me carry this for a while. He held her like she was the only solid thing in his world. Maybe she was. 3 days later, Josephine rode to town alone. Stone didn't want her to go. It's not safe. I'm not afraid of them anymore. You should be. Maybe, but I'm going anyway. She kissed him. Trust me. She rode straight to the general store. Mr. Paulson looked up from his ledger. Mrs. Stone. Mr. Paulson, I need to ask you something. Off the record. He studied her, then nodded. Come to the back. They moved to his office. He closed the door. What's this about? The railroad. They want my husband's land. I heard. Finley's been bragging about it all week. Can they really take it? Paulson sighed. Legally? Yes. Eminent domain is powerful, but... He paused. There are ways to fight it. Loopholes, technicalities. Tell me. The railroad needs continuous right-of-way. No breaks, no gaps. If even one property owner refuses to sell, they have to reroute. And rerouting costs time and money. So if we refuse... If you refuse and you can convince the other landowners in their path to refuse, they'll have to go around. It's risky. They might push harder, but it's possible. Josephine's mind raced. Who else are they targeting? The Hennessy farm, the Miller homestead, Old Widow Krantz, 5 properties total. I need to talk to them. Mrs. Stone. Thank you, Mr. Paulson. She left before he could argue. The Hennessy farm was first. Mary Hennessy answered the door, a baby on her hip flower on her apron. Mrs. Stone, what brings you here? The railroad. They came to my husband's ranch. They're trying to take his land. Mary's face fell. They came here too. Offered us $300. Are you going to sell? We don't have a choice. James's back is hurt. He can't work like he used to. $300 would see us through winter." Josephine's heart sank, but she pressed on. "What if I told you there's a way to fight, to keep your land and get the railroad to pay more?" Mary looked skeptical. "How?" "By refusing, all of us, together. If we all say no, they have to reroute. And if they have to reroute, they'll eventually come back with better offers, real offers. Or they'll just take it anyway." "Maybe. But isn't it worth trying? This is your land, your home, your children's future." Mary looked down at her baby. Her jaw tightened. "I'll talk to James." Josephine visited 4 farms that day, got 3 maybes and 1 yes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. When she returned home, Stone was waiting on the porch. "Where were you?" "Fighting." She told him everything. Stone listened, his expression unreadable. "Josephine, that's dangerous. If the railroad thinks we're organizing against them, let them think it. We have rights. We have each other. And we have something they don't." "What's that?" "Everything to lose." Stone stared at her. Then slowly he smiled. Really smiled. "When did you become so fierce?" "When I married a man worth fighting for." He pulled her into his arms, kissed her hard. "I love you," he said against her lips. "God help me, I love you." It was the first time he'd said it, the first time either of them had. Josephine's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too." They stood on the porch holding each other, and for the first time since Finley arrived, Stone felt something other than despair. He felt hope. But hope is a fragile thing. A week later, fire came to Stone Creek Ranch. Josephine woke to smoke. She sat up, coughing, her eyes burning. Beside her, Stone was already moving. "Fire," he said. "The barn." They ran outside. The barn was engulfed, flames licking toward the sky. The horses screamed inside. "The animals?" Josephine gasped. Stone was already running. He kicked open the barn door. Smoke poured out. Josephine grabbed a water bucket, but it was useless against the inferno. Stone emerged leading 2 horses, went back in for the others. Nate, no. But he was gone. Josephine's heart hammered. She could hear him inside shouting at the horses, trying to calm them enough to lead them out. One by one he brought them to safety. 3 horses. 4. 5. He went back for the last one. That's when the roof beam cracked. Josephine heard it. Saw it. The massive timber giving way. "Nate!" She ran toward the barn. Strong arms grabbed her, held her back. "No, ma'am. You can't go in there." She struggled. It was one of their neighbors, the miller. He must have seen the fire. "He's still inside." "I know, but you going in won't help him." The beam fell. The crash echoed across the ranch. Josephine screamed. Then through the smoke, Stone emerged. The last horse beside him. His shirt was burned, his face black with soot. But he was alive. He was alive. Josephine broke free and ran to him. He collapsed into her arms. "I've got you," she said. "I've got you." They watched the barn burn. There was nothing they could do. By dawn, only charred timber remained. Stone sat on the porch steps, his head in his hands. Josephine brought him water. He didn't drink. "It's gone," he said. His voice was empty. "Everything. The barn, the tack, the feed. We'll rebuild. With what money I've got, nothing left, Josephine. The ranch is done." "No." "Yes." He looked at her. His eyes were dead. "This was arson. Someone set that fire. Probably Finley's men. They're sending a message. Sell or lose everything. Then we fight harder. There's nothing left to fight with." Josephine knelt in front of him. "Yes, there is. We have each other. We have our community. We have our voices. That's enough." "It's not. It has to be." Her voice broke. "Because if you give up now, they win. And I didn't marry a man who lets bullies win." Stone looked at her. Really looked. She could see the war happening behind his eyes, the part of him that wanted to quit, and the part that wanted to fight. "I'm so tired," he whispered. "I know. So let me be strong for both of us." She took his hand. "We'll rebuild. We'll fight. We'll survive. Together. Like we always have." He pulled her close, held her tight. "What did I do to deserve you? You saw me, really saw me, when no one else would." She pulled back, cupped his face. "Now let me return the favor. I see you, Nate Stone, and you are not broken. You are not defeated. You are still fighting, and I'm fighting right beside you." Something flickered in his eyes. Life. Fire. "All right," he said roughly. "We fight. We fight." The next morning, Josephine rode back to town. Stone tried to stop her. "It's too dangerous." "Then come with me." So he did. They rode straight to the sheriff's office. Deputy Hastings looked up from his desk. "Captain, Mrs. Stone, what can I do for you?" "Our barn burned down last night," Stone said. "It was arson." Hastings' expression shifted. "You sure about that?" "I'm sure. Someone poured accelerant around the base. You can still smell the kerosene." "You got any proof? Any witnesses?" "Just common sense. Railroad wants my land. I refuse to sell. Suddenly my barn burns down. You do the math." Hastings leaned back in his chair. "That's a serious accusation, Captain." "I'm aware." "Accusing a corporation of arson without proof that's slander. They could sue you into the ground." "They're already burning me into the ground." Hastings sighed. "I hear you. I do. But my hands are tied. Without evidence, there's nothing I can do." "Then what the hell am I paying taxes for?" "For law and order, not vigilante justice." Stone's fists clenched. Josephine put her hand on his arm. "Thank you for your time, Deputy," she said. Her voice was cold. They left. On the street, Stone turned to her. "That was a waste of time." "No, it wasn't. We put it on record. When this goes to court, we'll have proof we tried to report it." "When this goes to court, I'll be bankrupt." "Maybe. Or maybe we'll win." She took his hand. "We're not done fighting yet." That afternoon, Martha arrived with a wagon full of supplies. Timber, nails, tools. "What's this?" Stone asked. "Help." Martha climbed down. Word spread about the fire. The Hennessy's sent the timber. The Millers sent tools. Widow Krantz sent her sons to help rebuild. Josephine's eyes filled with tears. "They're helping us. You helped them first, gave them courage to fight the railroad." Martha smiled. "Now, they're returning the favor." Over the next week, the community came together. Men raised the barn frame, women brought food, children cleared debris. It wasn't as big as the old barn, but it was solid, real. Stone worked alongside them, his face grim but determined. At night, he'd collapse into bed, his body aching. "We're going to make it," Josephine would whisper. "We have to." On the 8th day, Robert Finley returned. He rode in alone this time. No survey equipment, no crew. Just him and a new offer. "Captain Stone." Stone straightened from his work, set down his hammer. "Finley, I heard about the fire. Terrible tragedy." "Was it?" Stone's voice was flat. Finley had the grace to look uncomfortable. "I'm here with a revised offer. $800, double our original price. Take it, Captain. Start fresh somewhere else." "No." "Be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. This is my land, my home, and I'm not selling. Not to you, not to anyone." Finley's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake." "The only mistake I made was not kicking you off my property the first time you came here." Stone stepped closer. "But I'm correcting that now. Get out, and don't come back." The railroad will go through you if it has to. Then it'll be the fight of your life." Stone's voice dropped. "Because I've got nothing left to lose, and that makes me very dangerous." Finley stared at him, then mounted his horse. "You'll regret this." "I doubt it." He rode away. Josephine appeared at Stone's side. "That was brave." "That was stupid. I just painted a target on our backs." "Good." She smiled. "Let them come. We'll be ready." Stone looked at her, this fierce, beautiful woman who'd arrived in a blizzard and changed his entire world. "How are you not afraid?" "Because I have you, and you have me, and together we're unstoppable." Stone pulled her close, kissed her forehead. "I hope you're right." "I am." And standing there in the remains of their burned barn, surrounded by their community, Josephine believed it with everything she had. They would fight, they would survive, and they would win. Because love, she'd learned, was the strongest force there was, and they had love in abundance. The barn rose slowly, board by board, nail by nail. By the end of May, it stood complete. Smaller than before, but sturdy. Stone walked through it at dawn, running his hand along the wood, and Josephine saw something shift in his face. "It's good work," he said. "It's our work." He turned to her. "I couldn't have done this without you." "I know." She smiled. "That's what marriage means." They were finishing breakfast when Martha arrived, her face pale and urgent. "They're coming," she said. "The railroad. They're bringing the territorial judge. They're going to force the sale today." Stone's cup hit the table. "Today?" "Finley's been working behind the scenes, got the paperwork pushed through. If you don't have a legal defense by noon, they can seize the property." "We don't have a lawyer." "I know." Martha's voice shook. "That's why I brought this." She placed a letter on the table. The return address read, Helena Legal Aid Society. Stone opened it, read quickly. His expression darkened. "They're offering to take the case, pro bono." "That's good, isn't it?" Josephine asked. "They want me to come to Helena, today, to sign the papers and meet with their attorneys." He looked at the clock. "It's a 6-hour ride. Even if I leave now, I won't make it back before the judge arrives." "Then I'll go," Josephine said. "Absolutely not." "Nate, we don't have a choice. I'm not sending you alone. You have to stay here, hold the property. If you leave, they could claim abandonment." She stood, already moving toward their room. "I can ride. I can sign papers. I can do this." Stone followed her. "Josephine, it's dangerous. 6 hours alone on those roads." "I've survived worse." She pulled on her riding coat. "I've survived a blizzard. Survived cruelty. Survived being told I was worthless my entire life. I can survive a ride to Helena." He caught her shoulders. "I can't lose you." "You won't." She pressed her hand to his chest. "But I will lose you if we don't fight. So let me fight." Stone's jaw worked. Then he pulled her close, kissed her hard. "You come back to me," he said against her lips. "You hear me? You come back. I promise." Martha saddled the fastest horse, packed food and water. Stone gave Josephine his revolver. "You know how to use it." "I know." He helped her mount. Their eyes held. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." Then she rode. Fast. The morning sun climbing higher with every mile. The road to Helena was rough. Josephine's body ached after the second hour. Her hands cramped around the reins. But she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. She thought about Stone, about the ranch, about everything they'd built together. She thought about the girl who'd arrived in a blizzard, broken and afraid, and the woman she'd become. Strong, capable, worth fighting for. The horse stumbled once on a rocky stretch. Josephine held on her heart, hammering. They recovered, kept moving. 4 hours in, she saw riders behind her. 3 of them, gaining fast. Her stomach dropped. She urged her horse faster. The riders matched her pace. They caught her at a narrow pass. The lead rider cut her off. Josephine pulled hard on the reins. Her horse reared. She held on. The rider was young, rough-looking. He smiled. "Where you headed in such a hurry, ma'am? That's my business." "See, I think it's our business too." He glanced at his companions. "You're Stone's wife, aren't you?" Josephine's hand moved toward the revolver. The rider saw. "Easy now. We're not here to hurt you. Just to talk." "Talk fast. I'm in a hurry." "Mr. Finley wants you to know something. The judge that's coming to your ranch today, he's already been paid. The decision's made. Your husband's going to lose, today, no matter what." "You're lying." "Am I?" The rider leaned forward in his saddle. "Mr. Finley wanted to give you one last chance. Turn around. Go home. Tell your husband to take the money. Walk away with something instead of nothing." "We're not walking away." "Then you're fools." The rider's smile faded. "And fools get hurt." He reached for her reins. Josephine pulled the revolver. "Touch me, and I'll shoot you." The rider froze. His companions shifted. "You wouldn't." "Try me." They stared at each other. Josephine's hand was steady. Her heart raced, but her aim was true. "You're making a mistake," the rider said. "So are you. Now move." Slowly they moved aside. Josephine urged her horse forward, kept the gun raised until they were far behind. Then she holstered it and rode harder. She reached Helena at 2 p.m. The Legal Aid Society was a small office above a general store. She tied her horse and climbed the stairs, her legs shaking. A young man looked up from a desk. "Can I help you?" "I'm Josephine Stone. You sent a letter about my husband's case." His eyes widened. "Mrs. Stone, we weren't expecting you." "My husband couldn't come. I'm here to sign whatever needs signing." "It's not that simple. We need to review the case, discuss strategy." "We don't have time for strategy. The judge is at my ranch right now, deciding our fate, right now. So whatever papers you need signed, give them to me. Whatever information you need, I'll give you. But we need to move. Now." The young man stared, then nodded. "Wait here." He disappeared into a back office, returned with an older man, gray-haired, sharp-eyed. "Mrs. Stone, I'm Calvin Reed, senior attorney. I understand there's some urgency. The railroad is trying to seize our property. Today. Your letter said you'd help." Reed studied her. The letter was meant to begin a conversation, not to promise immediate intervention. "Then I'm asking for immediate intervention, begging for it." Josephine's voice shook. "My husband is a good man, a war hero. He's worked that land for 5 years, built something from nothing, and they're trying to take it because he won't roll over, because he had the audacity to say no." "Mrs. Stone, please." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Please help us. We have nothing. No money for lawyers. No connections. Just each other and a piece of land we're willing to die for. If you believe in justice at all, help us." Reed was silent. Then he looked at the young attorney. "Get me the territorial statutes on eminent domain, and saddle my horse." "Sir." "You heard me. We're riding to Silver Creek." Hope flared in Josephine's chest. "You'll help." "I'll try. But Mrs. Stone, you need to understand. If the judge is already there, if the decision is being made today, we may already be too late." "Then we ride fast." They left within the hour. Reed, Josephine, and 2 younger attorneys. The ride back was brutal. Josephine's body screamed in protest. She'd been in the saddle for 8 hours. Every muscle ached, but she pushed through. Reed rode beside her. "Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out." She told him. The petition, the forced marriage, the fire, Finley's threats, the community standing together. Reed listened, asked questions, took notes even while riding. "You've got a case," he said finally. "Not a strong one, but a case." "What are our chances?" "Honestly, 30%, maybe 40 if I can get the judge to listen." "That's not very good." "No, but it's better than 0. He looked at her. You rode 12 hours round trip for a 30% chance. That's either very brave or very stupid. It's love, Josephine said simply. That's what love makes you do. Reed smiled. Then let's hope love is enough. They reached Stone Creek Ranch at dusk. Josephine's heart sank. A dozen horses were tied outside. Wagons. People everywhere. The hearing had already started. They dismounted and pushed through the crowd. Inside the house, Stone stood before a table where 3 men sat. The judge was in the center, gray-bearded, stern-faced. Finley sat to his right, smiling. Stone's face was haggard, defeated. Then he saw Josephine. His expression transformed. Relief, hope, love. Josephine, she pushed to his side. I brought help. Reed stepped forward. Your Honor, Calvin Reed, Helena Legal Aid Society. I'm here to represent Captain and Mrs. Stone. The judge frowned. This hearing has already begun. You're too late to enter representation. Then I request a continuance. My clients have a right to legal counsel. They've had weeks to secure counsel. They've had weeks of intimidation and harassment. Reed's voice was firm. Including arson, attempted bribery, and threats of violence, all of which I'm prepared to document. Finley stood. That's slander. It's fact. And if you'd like to challenge it, we can bring this before a territorial court, with a jury. I'm sure they'd love to hear how the Montana Pacific Railroad has been terrorizing homesteaders. The judge held up his hand. Enough. Mr. Reed, you've got 5 minutes to state your case. Captain Stone stepped back. Stone squeezed Josephine's hand. She squeezed back. Reed opened his satchel, pulled out papers. Your Honor, the railroad is claiming eminent domain under the Pacific Railroad Act of 1862. However, that act specifically requires that the taking be for public use and that fair compensation be offered. We've offered compensation, Finley interjected. You've offered a fraction of market value for land that includes improvements, water rights, and grazing access. That's not fair compensation. That's theft. The judge's eyebrows rose. Reed continued. Furthermore, the railroad has failed to demonstrate that this specific route is necessary. There are 3 alternate routes that would bypass Captain Stone's property entirely. The only reason they're insisting on this route is because Captain Stone had the audacity to refuse their initial lowball offer. That's not true, Finley started. Then explain the fire, Reed said sharply. Explain why Captain Stone's barn mysteriously burned down the week after he refused to sell. Explain the witnesses who saw railroad surveyors on his property the day before. Explain the kerosene residue. The room went silent. I have affidavits, Reed said, placing papers on the table. From neighbors, from the local fire marshal, from Mrs. Stone herself, who was threatened by men claiming to work for the railroad. The judge picked up the papers, read slowly. Josephine held her breath. Finally, the judge spoke. Mr. Finley, did your company have anything to do with the fire? Absolutely not. This is pure speculation. Answer the question, yes or no. Finley's face reddened. No. Then you won't mind if I launch an investigation. Silence. The judge set down the papers. Here's my ruling. The eminent domain petition is denied, pending investigation into the allegations of arson and intimidation. Josephine's knees nearly gave out. Stone caught her. Your Honor, this is outrageous, Finley began. What's outrageous is a corporation using threats and violence to steal land from citizens. The judge's voice was iron. The Montana Pacific Railroad can find another route, or they can offer fair compensation through proper legal channels. But they will not bully homesteaders in my territory. Is that clear? Finley's jaw clenched. Crystal. Then we're done here. The judge stood. Captain Stone, Mrs. Stone, your property rights are upheld. Good evening. He walked out. The room erupted. Neighbors cheered. Stone pulled Josephine into his arms. "You did it," he whispered. "You saved us." "We saved us." Reed approached. "Congratulations. You've won, for now." "For now?" Stone asked. "They'll try again. Different route, different tactics. But you've bought yourselves time. Use it wisely." "We will," Josephine said. "Thank you. For everything." Reed tipped his hat. "Thank you for reminding me why I became a lawyer. To fight for people like you." As the crowd dispersed, Finley approached. His face was dark with fury. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "You've made powerful enemies." "Good," Stone replied. "I was running low on purpose." Finley left. Stone turned to Josephine. They stood alone in their home, exhausted, victorious. "I can't believe you rode to Helena and back," he said, "in one day. I can't believe you doubted I would." He laughed, actually laughed. The sound was rusty, but real. "What do we do now?" Josephine asked. "Now we rebuild. We plant. We survive." He cupped her face. "We live. Together. Always together." He kissed her. Long and sweet and full of promise. Outside, the sun set over Stone Creek Ranch. The new barn stood strong. The land stretched wide and free, and inside, two people who'd found each other in a blizzard held each other close. The next weeks passed in a blur of work. Spring planting, fence mending, cattle management. Stone hired 2 ranch hands with the money they'd saved from not losing the property. Young men grateful for work. Josephine ran the household and helped in the fields. Her body grew strong, her hands calloused. She was nothing like the girl who'd arrived in February. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Stone spoke. "I've been thinking about all those people who helped us. The Hennessy's, the Millers, Martha. They stood with us when they didn't have to. They're good people. They are. And they deserve better than what they've got." Stone turned to her. "What if we help them? How? The railroad's going to keep coming, keep pushing. But if we organize, create a homesteaders association, pool resources, share knowledge, we could protect each other, build something lasting." Josephine's eyes lit up. "Like a community." "Exactly like a community." "I love it." They held the first meeting in their barn. 12 families came. Stone laid out the plan. Shared resources. Shared labor. Legal defense fund. A system of mutual aid. "We're stronger together," he said. "The railroad knows that. That's why they try to isolate us, make us feel alone. But we're not alone. We have each other." The families agreed. The Stone Creek Homesteaders Association was born. Josephine became its heart. She organized work crews, coordinated supplies, kept records, settled disputes. She discovered she was good at it. Leadership came naturally when you cared about the people you were leading. Summer arrived. The garden flourished. The cattle grew fat. The ranch prospered. One night in July, Josephine woke feeling strange, nauseous. She made it to the washroom before being sick. Stone appeared in the doorway. "You all right?" "I think so. Must have been something I ate." But it happened again the next morning, and the next. Stone's eyes widened. "Josephine, when was your last?" She stopped, counted. Her eyes went wide. Oh, oh God. Nate, I think I'm pregnant." She nodded slowly. Stone's face went through a dozen emotions. Shock, fear, wonder, joy. "We're having a baby," he whispered. "We're having a baby." He swept her into his arms, spun her around. She laughed, dizzy and delighted. "I'm going to be a father." "You're going to be a wonderful father." He set her down gently, pressed his hand to her still flat stomach. "Hello in there," he said softly. I'm your pa. And I promise you'll grow up safe, loved, free. Everything I never had, everything your mother never had. You'll have it all." Tears streamed down Josephine's face. "We'll give them the world," she said. "We'll give them better than the world. We'll give them a home." The baby was born in March, a girl, healthy, perfect. They named her Sarah Grace. Grace for the mercy that had brought them together. Sarah because it meant princess, and she was theirs. The community gathered to celebrate. Martha brought a quilt. The Hennessy's brought preserves. Widow Krantz knitted tiny booties. Stone held his daughter and wept openly. "She's so small." "She'll grow," Josephine said. "Just like we did." And she did grow. Surrounded by love, by community, by parents who'd fought for everything they had and taught her to fight too. 3 years later, the railroad came back. Different company, different route. They offered real money this time. Fair compensation. Stone and Josephine sold them an easement through the north pasture. Not the whole property, just access. They used the money to expand, bought more land, built a bigger house, established a school for the homesteaders' children. Silver Creek changed too. Mrs. Finch's boarding house closed. The woman had grown old and bitter. No one wanted to work for her anymore. Sarah Jane Winters married a merchant and moved to Helena. Elizabeth Murdoch left Montana entirely. Deputy Hastings became sheriff. Under his watch, Silver Creek grew into something resembling civilization, and at the center of it all, Stone Creek Ranch stood strong. One evening 10 years after that blizzard, Josephine stood on the porch watching the sunset. Stone came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "About the girl who arrived here in the snow, scared, broken, certain she was going to die. And how wrong she was." Josephine leaned back against him. "She didn't die. She lived, really lived, for the first time. We both did." Inside, Sarah Grace played with her younger brother Nathan Jr. Their laughter drifted through the open door. "Do you ever regret it?" Stone asked. "Staying, fighting all of it." Josephine turned in his arms, looked at the face she'd grown to love more than her own life. "Not for one single second." He kissed her. Slow, sweet, married kisses that tasted like home. "I love you, Josephine Stone." "I love you too, Nathaniel Stone." They stood together as the sun set over their land, their home, their life. And somewhere in Silver Creek, new stories were beginning. New people were finding their way through blizzards and cruelty and doubt. But on Stone Creek Ranch, two people who'd been sent together as a joke had built something that would last forever. They'd built a family, a community, a legacy. They'd built love. And that Josephine knew with absolute certainty was the greatest victory of all. Because the rancher had refused to let her go, and she'd refused to leave, and together they'd become unbreakable. That was how real love worked, not in grand gestures or perfect moments, but in the daily choice to stay, to fight, to believe, to hold on when everyone else said to let go. They'd chosen each other, every single day, through fire and loss and fear and triumph. And they'd choose each other every day for the rest of their lives. The joke had become a love story. The cruel prank had become salvation. The girl sent to die had become the woman who brought life. And the angry rancher who refused to let her go had become the man who'd found his reason to live. Together, they'd turned winter into spring, cruelty into kindness, brokenness into wholeness. Together, they'd proved that love doesn't just survive, it conquers.